Alright, let's talk Palworld. So, if you don't already know what Palworld is, despite the extreme popularity when it first came out, it's essentially a survival game that also features monster taming. It came out January 19th, 2024. It was basically at a good time when a lot of Pokemon fans felt like Game Freak was kind of declining in their quality with their games. And me being a huge Pokemon fan, I sadly kind of saw the pattern too, which brings us to Palworld's timing. When Palworld first released, to many, it kind of felt like they got the Pokemon game they always wanted, although with guns. Especially considering the latest entry. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, despite being my favorites, you can't deny that there was a lot of issues with it, with like the frame drops, especially the frame drops. The graphics needed a lot more work, there's so many glitches, so many things going on with that game, it just needed more time in the oven, I swear. For some of us, we were able to push through and continue playing the game because yeah, the story, I like the story. The gameplay was nice and everything, you know, standard Pokemon. But for some, you know, the glitches and the frame drops, too much for them. For a lot of others, I don't blame them for not being able to continue that game. Scarlet and Violet did feel like an unfinished game, unfortunately. So a lot of people did push it aside and didn't want to continue, and they were tired, you know. When Sword and Shield came out, I know a lot of people were upset that they couldn't include all the Pokemon. And then later on, obviously we got the DLCs to fix some things, but obviously it wasn't the game the fans wanted. And then Pokemon Arceus Edition, or Arceus, whichever your pronunciation is, I say Arceus. That game, for a lot of people, that was the good direction. But obviously there's still some people that didn't like the game. Which brings us back to Palworld, because then Scarlet and Violet came out, and yeah, you already know that mess. So this brings us back to Palworld. You know, Palworld to a lot of people, and I personally did try the game out too. For a lot of people, Palworld did feel like a breath of fresh air. Like, I completely understand, like, I was frustrated because I get headaches easily if the game is too laggy and the graphics are too eh. So I completely understand the frustration. So I played like, I don't know how many hours, like probably like 15 hours or so of Palworld, and I was enjoying my time. Although after you play for a bit, you can kind of see there's something odd going on with the creatures. Some of the creatures are starting to look familiar, and that's where the game kind of starts dividing us fans. One can see the inspiration behind the game, but it's a different story when they look like they were ripped out of Pokemon. I know some are debatable because, you know, there's like games like Dragon Quest, for example. Dragon Quest had a lot of creatures that were based off of like mythical things and different types of creatures in general, like bats, cats, you know. If you're making a monster taming game, generally those are the kind of creatures you might get inspiration from because, you know, they're in our everyday life and we see them. However, there's a big difference between inspiration and copying or tracing. So there's nothing wrong with taking inspiration. However, to me, this is kind of what Palworld did. Obviously, I do not know how they did it, how they made up the creatures, how they got the inspiration, if you could call it inspiration for some of them. So I prepared a demonstration to kind of show how it feels seeing these creatures that Palworld made, because as you saw the one earlier that kind of looked like a cross between Ninetales and Glaceon, it just kind of feels like they made Pokemon fusions. I mean, I guess you can give that as a compliment to Game Freak for all their amazing artwork of like the different Pokemon, and basically the designs in general are amazing. So, which brings us back to this demonstration. Alright, so for this demonstration, I'm going to be taking Reshiram and Suicune, and I'm gonna combine them and make my own pal, so you can see what I mean. Alright, first let's put them next to each other and maybe grab Suicune's head, put it over Reshiram, tidy it up a little bit to match the skin, maybe change that mane a little bit, and since Suicune's on 4 legs, let's make him on 4 legs, shall we? So we really like the gemstones on his head, so let's go ahead and add them to his legs, and boom! Look familiar? All jokes aside, honestly, taking a look at this, you can't deny that that's literally Suicune's head on an altered Reshiram. You can tell that the gem was slightly altered too, but if you open your eyes, you can kind of see that it is a copy. It's literally a Pokemon fusion. I'm not gonna even get into the fact that the game also is kind of like a copy of Arc 2, which that's a whole nother can of worms and I'm not gonna jump into. And with designs like these, honestly, I'm surprised they didn't get sued. I know Game Freak and Nintendo did try to look into it. I'll put it up right here. To me, what they should have done is if they wanted to make a cute penguin creature, they shouldn't just be like, okay, I like Piplup from the Pokemon Company, let me maybe change the face a little bit, do the same cute body and everything. No, I can literally be inspired by that Suicune right there. But there's a different story between making maybe a fox with really long, luscious hair than just taking Suicune's head with the same gem and everything. There's a big difference. It's like me taking a Pikachu, coloring him red, and calling him a completely different creature and saying he's mine. Yeah, maybe they didn't necessarily just grab the creature and change the colors, but undeniably, they're just taking parts and mix and matching and making their own Pokefusion. And that's not right. Why didn't the game get taken down? They are currently getting sued, but for patent rights. Pocket Pair, which is the company behind Palworld, studied really hard and made them just different enough that they kinda come off as parodies, which is sad because we're praising a game like this with a lack of originality. We were already dealing with things like AI that's stealing art, and now it's happening in the game community. But anyways, let's talk about Nintendo/Game Freak suing Palworld. Nintendo is currently suing Palworld as well as Game Freak. They're both suing them. However, instead of suing for copyright, which a lot of people thought that's what they were going to go for, however, Nintendo and the Pokemon Company actually sued for multiple patent infringements. However, Nintendo and the Pokemon Company instead filed a lawsuit against Palworld for many infringes on multiple patents, which is pretty interesting that they're going for this route instead of, and many of you are probably wondering why did it take so long for them to actually start filing the claim now. When you're filing a lawsuit against somebody or a company or whoever, it's gonna take you a while. It's actually normal for it to take a while because you have to build your case, you have to find what they're infringing, the problems with it, they have to pull up whatever copyrights they own, make the comparisons, all sorts of things. So the theory is, most likely, like I said earlier, Pocket Pair paid close attention and made sure their creatures were borderline parodies that unfortunately Nintendo and the Pokemon Company can't do anything about it. And that sucks because some of their creatures that I've seen in the game when I was playing actually look a little bit more unique. Like I'll put up a few that I actually think were a bit more unique. Yeah, there's still inspiration of creatures, but that's normal. If you're gonna make a creature that's based off of Medusa, of course Medusa's gonna have snake hair. Things like that, that's normal. For me, this scare to Pocket Pair should really be used as a lesson for them to actually maybe start making their own things for their future games. They've made other games as well that literally look like they copied other games too. This is not their first time. It's just this is the one that's the most popular right now. And I believe they have a lot of potential. I'm not bad-mouthing them or anything. If they actually focus on making their own things, even if they want to keep the heavy inspiration they have on Arc right now, at least change your creatures that they don't look like they're copy-pasted, they don't look like you just took a head, or a leg, or a tail and just fuse them together to make a fusion. There's not much information right now about the lawsuit. However, I feel like Pokemon in general and Nintendo probably feel threatened by this game, and to me, if I was in their shoes, I'd feel insulted with the fact that someone stole an idea of mine, like my baby, my Pokemon that I made, and just twisted it and made it their own thing. At least that's my opinion. I understand some people might take it as flattery, some people might say it's just heavy inspiration, but at the end of the day, you can't deny a lot of them are too close. One thing I did find interesting though, a patent attorney that recently spoke about this, and I'm gonna put it up right here and read what they had to say. So what they said is, I won't pretend to be a legal expert, but from what I understand, patents normally protect someone's inventions, like software or machinery, while copyrights usually protect someone's work, like books, music, and art. Details about the case are still under wraps, so no one really knows what Nintendo will argue. Maybe they'll say that POW catching balls are too alike to Pokeballs, or maybe they have beef with something as simple as UI prompts. It could be anything, but we won't find out for a while, and that's true. And this source comes from the website Games Radar. They have a lot of nice sources that you can read all about Palworld and everything, so I'll link those in the description. But it is interesting that they're going for this route, and I know some people might be really upset as well about the fact that they patented stuff like throwing a Pokeball. It is really interesting what this attorney had to say though, because it is true. Doing a lawsuit from patent infringements is going to be pretty hard for the Pokemon Company. I know they're just trying their best to take the game down, and it's probably adding insult to injury for the fact that Sony now owns Palworld and it's officially now out on the PS5. Which to me, that's kind of sad that game companies have to basically, in order to compete with their rivals, just basically grab a copy-paste. Like, to me, that's a no-no. I don't like that. Obviously, it is an opinion of mine. We all have our opinions, and I respect that. I just personally feel like that's kind of messed up, you know? And currently that's kind of where we stand right now with all this suing. However, I do know that Pocket Pair has stated that they were not informed about what patents they have infringed, which maybe the Pokemon company should have said something to them like, hey, you know, I didn't like that you're doing this and such. Like, I get that, maybe prepare them, but I understand they're trying to take down that game, so they're gonna try everything in their power to take it down. Which to me, it's not a bad game, it's just unoriginal. Like, personally, I do not support this game at all. So take a look at this. When the game came out, I personally feel like a lot of people played the game out of spite from the fact that, like I mentioned earlier, everyone was frustrated that the Pokemon company was dropping in their quality, and I understand that as well. So I'm really hoping with the next title that's coming, the Legend ZA, that's coming next year, I really hope that they take this as a lesson as well to step it up a bit, because there's people out there trying to make something that the fans want, and I believe still in the Pokemon company and Game Freak in general. I still believe in Game Freak. I feel like they could do it, especially since they hired a lot of new people now. I have a lot of hope because I grew up with Pokemon. Like, I've played every single game, every single one, and it is sad that eventually, you know, your game can only peak so much. Maybe it's time to try something new, which in a way Palworld did the right thing, making this a wake-up call for Game Freak in general. But what do you guys think? Honestly, not sure if Nintendo should have bothered with that patent lawsuit, but at the end of the day, it's their baby, you know? They're trying to protect their baby. Especially since I'm an artist, I completely understand the whole taking someone's OC, their original character, changing the hair color and changing the eyes and just be like, that's mine. Basically, the best thing that could happen is that maybe they redo all the monsters and make them more unique. You can keep some of them because some of them are pretty unique, like amazing, like I love their designs. But the ones that look like fusions, I'm sorry, but no. Those need to be put away, thrown in the trash. No. Unless you made an agreement with the Pokemon company or collabed with them, then you can keep them. But right now as it stands, I'm just hoping something good comes out of this lawsuit. But we'll see what happens. Time will tell. Anyways, thank you so much for actually taking the time to watch this video and hear what I have to say about this game and about Pokemon in general as well. This is actually my first time making this type of video, and I'm gonna try to do one here and there because I actually had a lot of fun with this. And I just wanted to voice my opinion on this because I feel like something needs to happen, you know? But yeah, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. And let me know if there's anything else you want me to maybe cover in the future. Or if there's anything else I'm missing or just your thoughts in general. But anyways guys, this was Prince Danny, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care, and bye.